The Darkness Origin, explained in detail. Conclusively, one of the best Gothic urban fantasy comics to have been around, The Darkness, was created by the terrific trio of David Wohl, Marc Silvestri, and Garth Ennis. Published by Top Cow Productions back in the year 1996, The Darkness is shown to be a type of cosmic entity, one that goes way beyond written history. In fact, the idea of the darkness using human vessels inherited through the sons of its chosen bloodline over a time span of about 10,000 years, then the father passing the curse to his child, and finally the power awakening on the son's 21st birthday makes the entire storyline so intriguing. Today, we have a very interesting video for you where we're going to delve deeper into the origins of the darkness and explore everything in detail. Are you ready?
Before we go into our explanation, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us, it means a lot. Thank you. Let's begin.
Come pay us a visit. We're waiting for you.
Hellgate, huh? Thanks for the help, asshole.
What is the darkness? The earth was formless and void, and darkness was over the surface of the deep. Then God said, "Let there be light," and there was light. And God saw that the light was good, and God separated the light from the darkness. And the darkness resented it. And so bitterness and spite were born before time itself. Winding the clock back to 10,000 years, post the supernatural race of the Ancient Ones getting confined in their own universe, a remnant of their energy was left behind. It is out of this energy that darkness and its rival Angelus were born, and the duo has been at war against each other ever since. The fact that these prehistoric beings were equal in terms of both authority and position made them incapable of destroying each other. Well, in a way they could end each other, but that would lead them to cause some serious damage to the universe, and the world too. Therefore, to avoid such devastation from taking place, a truce was formulated. The duo consummated, yes, you heard that right, in the interests of mutual survival, and conceived the Witchblade as a means to create harmony and a sense of balance between them. But in spite of the Witchblade's birth, the darkness absolutely loathed God. The constant distressing anger of the darkness could not be made known till a certain vessel for his limited hate was finally found. No points for guessing that it was God's most favored creation, mankind to be more precise. What followed next was darkness finding his way into the genes of a distinctly fertile bloodline and making use of them as a channel to exhibit his wrath on Earth. Every generation was bestowed with virtually infinite continental powers and the sole goal of spilling unthinkable chaos, evil, disorder, and darkness over the world of light. The chosen hosts have typically been of a violent predisposition from the ranks of the murderers, dictators, abusers, thieves, rapists, and overlords. This ancient entity is an amorphous form of force, often defined more as a power than a being. It would be fair to address this as an unfocused mind, one that requires a host to manifest its personality. The fact that the darkness has had a very lengthy list of human vessels shouldn't come as a surprise to you at all. Speaking of hosts, Christian ESTACADO happens to be the first known host in the ESTACADO bloodline. He's said to be a dark prince of the house of ESTACADO who ruled viciously over a darkened world. Christian ESTACADO was misled into mating with an Angelus host, and their child ended up inheriting the role of the darkness on his 21st birthday. Jackie ESTACADO is the present wielder of the darkness, and has used his powers in ways that one can hardly imagine, and in fact no other vessel ever had, easily making him the utmost and most powerful vessel of the darkness till date.
Monkey, it's been too.
What are the powers that make darkness so terrifying? Darklings. This elemental force of chaos and creation not only showers the host with an unlimited amount of demonic power, but also gives them the access to an unearthly realm, along with dominance over the veritable horde of darklings dwelling there. Now one might wonder, what are these darklings? Formed from the necroplasmic materials and animated by the spirit of the darkness, the darklings are aberrant, mischievous, foul-mouthed foot soldiers of the darkness host, always at his service, complying with every whim of his, tending to all his desires and safeguarding him from every form of danger. Darkness armor. Missing out on describing this essential thing would be nothing short of a cardinal sin. The Darkness is capable of creating invulnerable mystical armor, one that boosts stamina, speed, and strength of the host, eventually converting him into a powerhouse. Look-wise, the armor is more like a reflection of the character of the host. Stressing more on the abilities of the armor, it is resistant to what can easily be regarded as one of the most destructive weapons. Agreed that a tank cracker is capable of draining the host for the time being, but it is not just capable of killing him. The armor, besides boasting of superhuman strength, speed, and stamina, also brags about the ability to shapeshift, one where the host can literally transform the look of the armor to effortlessly imitate the appearance as well as the voice of another. On a superior level, they can also change into dragon-like creatures, having a display of bat-like wings or feathered wings, razor-sharp talons as well as blades and spikes, mostly to eliminate their enemies. Other abilities include superhuman senses, agility, respiration protection, reactive adaptation, as well as shadow manipulation. Mystical powers. There's teleportation, which means that the host can literally travel anywhere in the shadows. They are immortal, their senses are augmented, they are capable of reviving the dead, they can absorb souls, they can overpower a witch's immortality by filling her mind with overwhelming memories and emotions. And lastly, as a personification of darkness, he happens to be everywhere. Jackie ESTACADO, the current wielder of the darkness. Meet the magnetic and iron-willed former hitman for the Franchetti Mafia, Jackie ESTACADO, one who is often regarded as the most powerful and enduring host of the darkness. Born somewhere in New York City in the year 1981, Jackie's mother had died while giving birth to him and his sibling Caprice. He was sent to St. Gerard's orphanage around the same time as Jenny Romano, one with whom Jackie developed quite a close bond. He was extremely protective of her and did not let anyone, for that matter, not even the officials at the orphanage, lay a single finger on her. So much so that he would have actually become violent if anyone even dared to abuse Jenny in any manner, and would lead them straight to the hospital for their actions. Jackie became a part of the mafia life at the tender age of 6. He was picked up straight from the orphanage by Frankie Franchetti after the latter was encouraged by some mysterious stranger called Sonatine to have Jackie around him, as that would bring him incredible power. It goes without saying how exposed he was to such a violent, raw, and negative life. In fact, this might come as a shock to many, but the first time Jackie had sex, it was with a female cop while he was being interrogated by her, and all of this only at the age of 14. Additionally, he claimed his first hit when he was 16, and if it makes you feel any better, Jackie was also taught an extent about having good morals and values, things like loyalty. So he grew up on his own, pretty mature to be honest, and at the same time also relished the life of sex and violence side by side. No wonder Franchetti ended up becoming the most powerful don in the city, as Sonatine had predicted, and all thanks to Jackie ESTACADO and his actions within the mob. But unbeknownst to Jackie, the Angelus kept a pretty close check on Jackie all throughout. It was on the eve of his 21st birthday when Jackie heard the darkness telepathically reaching out to him for the first time and telling him how he could have everything he had ever wanted by embracing the darkness. There are no second thoughts about the darkness awakening within him, and Jackie finally learning of his legacy as the host of the darkness. Of course, the power was a blessing, but he made several enemies in the process. For starters, there was the Angelus, who desired to kill him, and then there was Sonatine and his Brotherhood of the Darkness, who wanted to capture him and then have him under their control for their own sinister plans. Jackie stopped serving Frankie Franchetti post coming across Batman, something that eventually made him turn Frankie over to the authorities and take a retirement from his mob life. Of course, this cost him the life of his girlfriend Jenny Romano, whom Frankie killed in cold blood as part of the retribution.
Jackie, this is not your fault.
Severely anguished and absolutely grief-stricken by his actions, Jackie had plans for both Frankie and himself. He led Frankie to an isolated warehouse, one that was already drenched with gasoline, and set himself along with Frankie on fire, leading to their deaths. The darkness in due course brought him back to life from hell. Jackie was initially forced to work for Paulie Franchetti, who happened to be the cousin of Frankie, but that was just for a while. Jackie not only killed him, but later also took charge of the Franchetti Mafia. Speaking of his powers and abilities, Jackie possessed the endless power of the darkness, one that allowed him access to an unearthly realm along with the dominance over the veritable horde of the DARKLINGS that dwelled there. Right from destroying tanks, helicopters, butchering vampires and werewolves to smoothly crushing human beings, Jackie ESTACADO as the host of the darkness was literally capable of doing just about anything and everything. Besides having the power that we have already mentioned before, he also happens to be a challenging hand-to-hand fighter as well as a master marksman, one with a particular penchant for a dual 9mm handgun. Appearance in film. Back in the year 2004, around December, Dimension Films was reported to have been paid an undisclosed six-figure amount to come up with a movie based on the comic series, and have it released around the year 2008. But from what we have gathered, the film rights were later sold to the Pang brothers in December 2005. Also, at the 2009 Comic-Con, Matt Hawkins, as the Top Cow president, disclosed that a live-action film was in development, one that had roped in Scott Stuber Productions. But it was in 2012 when celebrated film director, screenwriter, and producer Len Wiseman signed on to produce the film. There has been no news post that.
Except you are nothing.
Video games. It is the only main Top Cow comic series to have its own game series. The Darkness was let out on the PlayStation 3 back in June 2007, and for the Xbox 360 about a week later. Published by 2K Games and developed by Starbreeze Studios, the storyline follows a different version, one that gives way more depth to the characterization of the Darkness. Also, a sequel called Darkness 2, developed by Digital Extremes and published by 2K Games, was released for the PC, the Xbox, as well as the PlayStation 3 in February 2012. Now, as easy as it is to come up with a new game, put it on a shelf, and urge people to play, one thing is for sure. If the mindset of the audience is somewhat like they don't care, it is a given that the game will not really last there for a very long time. After all, why would someone be inclined towards completing a story that they have no interest in the first place? This is what brings the Darkness in the picture. Of course, you are entitled to think what it is that you think makes it so special. For starters, it did not simply put you in a world where you felt real while walking around non-combat zones. It gave you relationships. It tried to do something different, and it was successful. It makes you more focused on the environment, along with the people within it. One of the main reasons why this video game works so well is because it gives you time to breathe. It shows us the world that Jackie Estacado could have had. Well, of course, it is about a shooter. There's no denying that. But it is a shooter that gives us an emotional connection, conclusively making it a classic in every way.
And if you liked our content, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to us if you haven't already. Have a good one and be safe. Thanks, everyone.